Welcome to the Den. I'm Josh. This is Tyler. We're here to talk about all things Bruins. Let's get into it.
Let's
So,
get into it.
what do you think? What have we had here? A good little run followed by not so much.
It's been a
Swayman got
wild
pulled.
ride.
Yeah. They go
But
on
it's
streaks,
hard to
super
say that.
streaky.
Yeah, but it's hard to even put any validity into the streak, I think. Let me know what you think, but the way I'm looking at it is we just called up our 10th defenseman to play this season for us. 10th. So I mean, we're diving pretty deep into the pool of prospects right now, right? I think just like 2 hours ago we called up who is it? Soderstrom, I believe it was.
Is that who they called up?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it is. So, I mean, he played in Sweden last season, right? He played in Providence, or not even Providence. He played for Arizona's farm team for a few years, went to Sweden, came back to Providence this year. He's not a guy who I think we would call up under most circumstances, but going to our 10th man, we bring him up, and we're not putting a great show in front of Swayman right now. So it's been tough. So last 10, we're 4-6, but I don't know if that's the Bruins being 4-6. I think that's more of, hey, we have to deal through this injury bug for a couple weeks maybe and kind of get back into it.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were just chatting yesterday and talking about how in the off season everybody was so concerned or raising a fuss about all these bottom six players they signed and how are we going to have a chance for all these prospects to get ice time and whatever. And well, looks like there's a pretty good handful that have gotten some ice time lately with all these injuries and whatnot, and
Yeah.
it's been useful. I mean, as much as you don't want people getting injured, like McAvoy and now Pasternak for who knows how long, for what reason, but
Yeah.
we've had an opportunity now to see several of these players that everybody was griping about not being able to have a chance, to get a chance, and I think it's been useful because we've seen, I mean, goodness, Johnny Beecher,
Mhm.
he's gotten several good looks in the last couple years, and now look, now he's looking from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think that's specifically because we've had time for some of this youth to get up there. I think Steve's pushed Beecher out,
Yep.
and you've got Kustanidov is stuck, and then you've got other players like Tufty and
Even
guys like
Minton, I
them
think,
that,
I think he's playing a bigger role than we expected this early on.
yeah, that's probably fair too. He's
I mean,
probably been,
even of all these people too, right? Who you just named off quite a few guys who beginning this season I wouldn't think would be a big part of our roster. But yeah, I think you're
Mhm.
absolutely right that they pushed out Beecher. But what I think is funny about that is of all these people that you're naming, right, who got a chance, someone who still hasn't got a shot this season, Lysell.
Yeah, which is super interesting, and I'm torn whether that's like a tell,
Yeah.
that they've already decided that his ceiling is like, a top six AHL guy,
Hmm.
and they're not even going to give him a shot. I can't even, point towards, well, it's a schedule thing where, it's like back to back heavy teams or, West Coast runs or whatever, where they want bigger bodies.
Yeah.
So, like that's why Tufty's up or something. But yeah, both Lysell and Patra, like it's a little bit surprising Patra hasn't come up. Now I guess need to dig into um their contract and games played and waivers and stuff like that. I don't know off the top of my head if that would affect it.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um
has to, I would think. I don't know those off the top of my head either, but just looking at pure stats, I mean, Patra's number 7 on the team in points, 12 points in 20 games. He's a -1, but I think that's actually a pretty big deal because in Providence, he is one of 4 people who are minus on the team. And out of the heavy minute guys on the team, he's the only one who's a minus right now. I don't watch Providence, so I don't know what that is looking like for him, but that's kind of a big deal for him right now. Providence is hot. He's 8 points under a point per game when they have multiple guys this season being point per game guys. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you can use a plus minus as any kind of an indicator right now. I mean, Pasternak, Geeky, Zaka, they're all -6 and
Yeah.
worse, and you know.
Yeah, but that's
So
the difference. I mean, we're in
the
an Atlantic
majority of the team
division.
is a minus somehow.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So I
But
don't know.
my point being is the Bruins are a team where we're plus minus for goal differential this season. We're minus. There's actually only one
Yeah,
team in our division who's a plus, right? Which that's alarming. I think that's a whole subject we can get into in a minute. But for Providence, they're killing it. Like their whole team is killing it.
yeah,
So for a higher up prospect, maybe a top 9 guy, right? The top 9. Yeah, top 9, I guess. Uh, and he's a minus on a hot team right now in the AHLs. I don't know, it's a little alarming to me just looking over his career a little bit. Again, I don't watch Providence, but I don't know. It's just something that maybe that has something to do with him not being called up when a lot of these other guys are, and they're sticking. I mean, look at Steves, right, who got 2 goals the other night. One semi-garbage time goal, but still a good goal. And he's looked okay. So I don't know. I think maybe guys like that have just jumped the line quite a bit.
yeah. I think for sure, Steve's especially. He much like Hustininov did at the beginning of the season, and
Mhm.
kind of solidified a spot or made it hard to get sat with just like the hustle and the grit and the buy-in to every shift
Yeah.
is all out kind of a thing. And that's the thing I think Steve's has kind of been exhibiting lately is it's not so much that he's like their next Pasternak or whatever, but I think he's just he's had enough awareness to put himself in good positions to
Mhm.
where it might not be that he's scoring a ton of goals, but he's in good positions where he can be part of the play and positively impact the play. And I think that paired with just the determination, you know, while on every shift, it just kind of makes it hard for you to get sat. When
Yeah.
when the coaches see that, just that persistence and you know different level of effort, that can be kind of helpful. And that's why I think that Tufty has often not been played super consistently, is because he, like I said, I think last time, he looks like he tends to just kind of float around a little bit more.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that was often something, thinking back, that I saw with Beecher too, where there may be hustle, there may be effort, but that's not the only thing that, is going to
Yeah, it's
provide
not the only thing
success,
that
so to speak.
matters, and I think the coaching staff agrees with exactly what you just said too. Because 'cause I'm looking at Steve's specifically, his last 5 games. So 5 games ago, starting from there against San Jose, he got 9 minutes, 40 seconds. Next game, you got 2 more minutes. Next game, you got 2 more minutes. Next game, about a minute and a half more. And then our last game against Detroit, he's up to 16 minutes and 50 seconds on ice. So
Yeah.
that's huge. I mean, 16 minutes,
On
almost
the first
17
line.
minutes. Yeah, that's those are big minutes, and that's following up a bigger role each game for the last
Right.
5 games. So,
Right. Yeah, just like Hustadinov, right? You get put on the first line just out of, necessity, in a sense
yeah.
of injuries and whatnot. But it kind of, speaks to his um, performance and what the coaches see right now, where
Mhm.
they put him up there instead of maybe, somebody else like Zaka, or somebody that
Yeah.
can play center and wing, and, you know. So it's interesting. It's encouraging,
Mhm.
for so many years of not having um, a funnel of prospects and youth where you could be like next man up, ugh, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of good in that regard. And now it makes the off season approaching a little bit trickier, kind of, because then you have to decide: are we investing? Are we cutting ties? And with who? And it's like a good problem to have, but it's still a
Yeah.
problem.
Right. I mean, going off of that too with these guys, I mean, you have Arvidsson, right? I mean, he's a 4 million cap hit right now, last year of his deal. Do we move him at the deadline or do we keep him? Because is he filling a role right now that these young guys can take over? I mean, he's a veteran, right? He's had some good seasons in the past. He's either 30 or 31. So I mean his
32.
30, okay, 32. So is that a guy we want to resign? Because he does bring value to a team. So likely he's not going to take a big cut, if any, in pay, right? I mean, a contending team would snag him up, I would think. So is that someone who, if we're going to move him or we're not going to resign him, do we move him at the trade deadline because we have these kids to take his role and at least get something back for him, even if that's just filling the pipeline for us down the road?
I think that's definitely the the purpose
Yeah.
of that signing is either he's going to benefit us or he's going to benefit us and then we can use that as a chip. Yeah. Or he's not and he's just a veteran, and if he, generates anything, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um
Well,
yeah,
listen to this
I
too,
think he's going to
Josh.
be there.
Yeah,
What's
no,
that?
listen to this. I mean, speaking of going off what you just said, like, what is that role? If you look at how many games he's even played in the past couple of seasons, 67 last year, 18 the year before, 77 in LA. That's pretty good. But then down to 66, 50, 57, 58. And he's 32. And he's coming off another
Hmm.
injury. It's like, do we even wait to the trade deadline to do that? What are your thoughts on that? Do we just even quicker? I don't know.
I think, I mean, potentially. I think, yeah, I don't know. I think they play it by ear because they can right now. Like, I don't think we're
Yeah.
in a position where they have to, we're, what were we, third in the division right now? I
I think we
think
just
they,
dropped after that loss, right? Didn't we go down to
yeah, but I think we're tied for third.
um
I think.
let's see.
You looking it up?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I
we're
know we're in
tied for
fifth.
third.
Are we? Okay.
Lightning, the Canadians, and then it's a three-way tie between Senators, Red Wings, and us at
That's what
30
it is. I
points.
was gonna say, I know we dropped down to 5, but that's what it is. We're three-way tie. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think they've got some wiggle room to where, we're not in dire situation yet or whatever, and I think we've performed above expectations thus far. Side note, little gripe there. Everybody was saying, like, oh, we'll be lucky if we sniff a wild card in the offseason with
Mhm.
all these bottom six signings, and now everybody wants to be on the bandwagon of like, oh yeah, they're doing great, piss and vinegar, just like we thought, and they're scraping wins by. It was,
Mhm.
everyone kind of thought no. Everyone thought you're gonna, be bottom of the
Yeah.
division the whole season, and that could happen. That could still fall out, but I think we've exceeded expectations thus far, even with the losing streak before and the couple, like bad games, the blowout, so to speak, losses. I
Mhm.
think they've played quite well. The only downside is a lot of those losses should have probably been, we should have gotten some overtime points that we didn't.
Yep.
And I think that would be a big improvement, is if we could scrape 1 point away from a lot of these close games, that would be super helpful. But yeah, I think that they are in a prime spot right now of being able to kind of let things play out a little bit more before they start getting into like a place of desperation, um or where they feel like they have to do something or not. Who knows, if
Yeah.
if the bottom drops out again, then they can just, last year part two of like selling off and trying to, see what they can get. But
See, I'm kind of on
yeah,
the
I don't know.
fence of where I stand with that because when you explain your viewpoint there. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm inclined to just be like, yeah, no, that's spot on, which you probably are. But I think just like the cynic in me looks at it as, okay, we've been dealt a pretty bad hand when it comes to injuries compared to most teams out there. Um, but say we're tied for third, okay, our goal differential is still bad. It's negative. We've got Swayman, who, I mean, looking at it right now, he's fifth in save percentage amongst all goalies who register for that. So after a horrible game, side note, not totally his fault. But after that
Phenomenal
game,
November.
yeah, right. So fifth in save percentage, he's league best in wins above replacement. So for anyone who doesn't know what that means, is that if you take a goalie with an average goalie stats across NHL this season, he's league best in wins over replacement, and same with goals saved above expected. So that's if you put an average goalie in net for the Bruins this season. So those are really, really impressive numbers, right? And take into account when the Bruins lose, yeah, we've had some really close ones where we didn't get points in them, but we have a lot of blowout losses this season, and he's still topping the charts in those stats. So let's just say, here's my point. Let's just say that he takes a dip, even a small dip. I mean, what are we looking at? 15 and 13 right now? Yeah, 15 and 13. I think that could very quickly go bad. Um, I know we have,
Sure.
again, filled our defensive core with a lot of guys who are AHL level right now. So when we're healthy, that's a different story, maybe. But again, if our goaltending takes any kind of a dip from our starting goalie, I think we are screwed because we put our backup
Yeah,
in,
probably.
who is having another bad season, which, who would have saw that coming? I think things could get bad very quick. So I think people are a little bit too bullish, honestly. Like, I'm happy with a lot of things we're seeing. And a lot of these young guys. I'm a big fan of this season. But when people are saying like, okay, like we're no longer fighting for maybe like that the wild card spot, like we're a legitimate team to make a berth into the playoffs, I don't know if I agree with that. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of perspective or taking that stance or opinion is only based off of the current, you know, trend of
Yeah.
success. And which again, everyone, before the season started kind of would have said isn't would be an anomaly.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think you're right. Goaltending is, Corpusalo did pretty well in October when Swayman seemed to have a little bit of a slow takeoff, and then
Hmm.
Swayman had a stellar November, and Corpusalo started trending down.
Yep.
And now hopefully it was just a fluke with this game that Swayman got pulled from because he was looking very lost. Did you watch that game?
I watched it, but I think I would say there's two goals that were like, yeah, he probably should have had those, but he was not getting
A lot
any
of
help from that
traffic.
defensive core.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's interesting. I feel like again, and I don't know if this. Hopefully, it doesn't end saying this, but um, Zadorov has been like playing above expectations for me
Yes.
and been the most consistent defenseman, both like a defensive defenseman, and then with these flashes of like offensive
Yeah.
like flair,
Mhm.
like puck handling has been
Mhm.
like I don't even if you remember several years ago, Chara had a hat trick. I don't know if you remember. Did you see that game several years
I don't
ago?
remember. Yeah.
And it was like his second or third goal that it was like he drove the net kind of like in the paint kind of a thing, did like a spin backhand and got a goal. And it was like, what?
What?
And like I feel like that's what Zadorov has been doing
Yeah.
like fairly regularly with you just think he's, laying big hits in front of the net and laying guys down, clearing the crease and with some good passes and some good puck moving ability. And then all of a sudden he'll just like carry the puck,
Mhm.
through the neutral zone and gain the offensive zone and then, take it around behind the net. And you're like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
Um, so I think he's been I don't think he's gotten enough credit as um,
Agreed.
he should get. Um, and then you see when Lindholm got injured in the beginning of the season, how we
Mhm.
kind of suffered a lot without him. And as soon as he came back, the defense seemed to click. And that was when we started doing
Yeah.
really well on defense. And now McAvoy's out. And it's interesting because, he's our core piece. He's the future. He's a debatable captain. He's supposed to be our defensive superstar. And I don't see as much struggle with him being out as with Lindholm being out.
Mm.
Um, and I'm not certain that there wouldn't be a substantial amount of struggle if Zadorov was out and McAvoy was in. I'm not like trying to hate on McAvoy, but I think it does definitely make it more difficult for us when, you know, one of our arguably best defensemen, or at least top three relied upon defensemen, is out. It doesn't help, like you said, we've got a lot of AHL caliber defensemen that have been
Mhm.
coming through and then getting injured. Jordan Harris, Michael Callahan, like
Yep.
Yokoharu, who's not really, it's like, oh, he's out. Didn't even notice. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, but even then, it's some sort of experience level that we're missing. So
Well, let me say this too.
it doesn't take
Because
much.
it doesn't, and that's the thing. And I think what you're saying is spot on because I think we rely on McAvoy too heavily when he's in. When he's back in the lineup,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at some of the guys that we put up there with him because we're like, okay, well, he can
Mm-hmm.
carry this line semi regardless of who's with him, and then we'll bolster up the second line, and the third line will be a little bit more solid. So I think when McAvoy's out there, so much is expected of him. And does McAvoy have his flaws? Yes, right? And I get that. But the minutes that that guy gets, whereas if we have Lindholm and Zadorov out there, they're both logging heavy minutes, but they can split it a little bit, which is what they've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas McAvoy just eats it and eats it and eats it. If there's any time that we need big plays or we need a stop, McAvoy is going to be out there. Whereas that's not always the case with Zadorov and Lindholm if we can help it. Flip side of that, Zadorov has been like my way too early MVP of the season for the Bruins. I mean,
Yeah.
like you were saying, I mean, even his patience with the puck, which is not something I necessarily saw like before with him. I mean, throughout his career when you've watched him, I mean, either in the defensive zone or the offensive zone, he's pulled toe drags on guys and just held his
Yeah.
ground. It wasn't even to drive the net or to leave the zone. It was just to wait and set up the play, which is, I mean, huge, right? So I've really liked it. One gripe that I've heard a lot or read a lot about him is, I mean, looking at his penalty minutes because he might be leading the league right now. Without looking at the stats, he might be, but I mean, he got like 14 minutes the other night, and that was
Yeah. Oh, goodness
bogus. Like
gracious.
whatever, that's its own thing. But when it comes to shot blocking and physical ability, I mean, he's elite, and that's not just
Mm-hmm.
me being like, I love him. He's a Bruin. I mean, stat wise, he's elite when it comes to blocks and hits. So in front of the net, he's extremely physical, clearing the crease, which is something we do not have right now, like
Right.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a huge fan of his right now, and he's really holding down the second line, which, I mean, anyone who watches hockey, right? Your third defensive pairing, obviously you want that to be as solid as possible, but it's really those first two lines that hold down the game for you and they help decide if you're winning or losing. So having Lindholm and Zadorov split right now, I'm happy with. I just wish that one of them could have someone a little bit more solid with them. I mean, you got Peak on the first line last game, Callahan on the second, who's now hurt. So it's like that becomes even more thin. And now you have Lindholm having to carry more weight and Zadorov carrying more weight with no one really to even pair them up with. Like, I don't know who's even gonna. Do we want Peak on the first line? I mean, I don't hate him. I don't want him on my first line though. Who's going on second line? I mean, Aspero, I
Yeah.
guess.
Also, to your point, I'm not a McAvoy hater. I'm just a
Debatable.
I'm not a Mac. Your one calls him a potato head. I'm not a McAvoy hater. I just feel like there's a bit of there's been like an over exaggeration or
Yeah.
fanboying of him that doesn't necessarily feel fair, fitting, or accurate. But like you were talking about him eating up so much time and whatever.
Mhm.
How many games was it before he got injured that it was he and Zadorov on the line together?
I know we
Like
mixed
they were
them up a
pairing
little
those
bit.
two up, right?
Yeah.
And that was after, wasn't it after Lindholm came back? That's what they did, and it was really, it seemed to be, the defense was like chugging. I think,
Mhm.
I'm not saying he's not skilled and he's not like a great player or whatever, but he kind of seems to me like a player who um, feels a pressure to perform and be like the player,
Yeah.
the defensive star of the team, and that can, I think that like below the surface edge or pressure can cause you to play with a little bit more unnecessary energy or angst or whatever that can kind of somewhat limit you as well, you
Mhm.
know. Like for example, um when he was first coming in, he was playing with Char all the time, right?
Yeah.
And they like play with the guy that, is grooming you to be not his replacement, but you play with that kind of player. They pin the guy that they want to, that they see a lot of potential in, with somebody that can help mold them and he can glean from and kind of absorb and replicate to some extent. Um, and I think what I've seen is that, they can put Lori or somebody that they've obviously held on to and see potential in and have kind of stuck through some tough times with. They've put
Mm.
him with
Yeah.
McAvoy, and it's not like he's improving as a byproduct. Um,
Laura, you
and
mean, or
yeah, is what I said, isn't it?
yeah,
Lori?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
if you meant
yeah. Lori
yeah,
hasn't improved playing with McAvoy, kind of a thing,
got it.
as they expected McAvoy to improve playing with Chara. Like if he's your number one D, you kind of put like your up and coming player to kind of absorb and, you know, try to get their cut their teeth, so to speak, with somebody that can help improve their game. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that they put McAvoy with Zadorov, and they're like a great, because what I think it is that took a lot of pressure off of McAvoy to have to be the star defenseman,
Mm.
and that let him be comfortable and play, like feel his play rather than think his play, if that makes sense. Um, and so yeah, having McAvoy has definitely helped because he's definitely above average defenseman regardless. Um, but I don't know if him if we rely on him that much. And my point before was, it's kind of telling that we kind of were terrible with Lindholm out, and
Mhm.
then like resurgence heavy when Lindholm came back in, because I think there's some subsurface pressure from McAvoy that affects his play that may not be as overt with trying to be the star defenseman.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's one
even
of my biggest
yeah.
concerns with him, right? Is he's oftentimes labeled our number one defenseman. And it's like, is he though? Like you can say that, but what do the results show? Like he's great. He's, he contributes. I'm not saying he's peak or, Yokoharu kind of whatever, but like Bergeron was never really our star scorer, whatever. But you could definitely notice when he was out of the
Yeah.
lineup, and it definitely impacted everybody, kind of a thing, because you contribute to the team play a lot more than how well I perform and produce. And I think those are the type of people that often go unrecognized because they're not. Granted, Bergeron was recognized, but he's recognized for that kind of like consistent,
Yeah.
reliable, regardless of who he's with, kind of play.
Yep. Two-way guy, give it your all. And I think
Yeah.
so your comparison talking about, I mean, even putting McAvoy with Chara. So I think one reason that works so well for McAvoy and the Bruins is Chara is, of course, a lot more defensive, right? He would be he put a lot of shots on net, which is good, but he's definitely a more defensive player. Whereas McAvoy, I'd say, is a two-way guy who has a lot of upside on the offensive zone. Well, sometimes. But you give him a guy with like Lorai. Okay, so
Mhm.
Lorai, if you watch him, he's been taking it into the zone quite a bit more. Past like a couple games, I guess. Especially
Yeah.
last game. And he's you can tell he's offensive minded, right? Even if he's a two-way guy. I don't know exactly how I would classify him, but I think when you pair him with someone like McAvoy, there's not McAvoy can hold his own in the defensive zone for sure, but that's not necessarily someone I'd want Lorai to be paired with right now. I think I'd rather put him with someone like Zadorov, ideally, or just someone more defensive, to learn more from that part of the game, or even be more free taking the puck up. Because I think one thing we did to McAvoy is kind of like what you're saying. There's so much on him to make a big play at all times, or just hold down the team and be our core on the ice. That sometimes I feel like he's stretched a little too thin, and then he can't go play his game. Like, who were we playing the other week when McAvoy kind of took over in overtime, right? And he was circling the offensive zone, passed it off, and then we won the game. And it's like, okay, that whole
Mhm.
play stemmed from McAvoy just taking over because we weren't getting that much done. We were moving the puck, but we weren't actually setting it up and getting good chances. Whereas he finally like got sick of it or whatever, took over, and we scored right away from that. So I feel like we need someone like Lorai or even McAvoy to be with someone who can complement them better than what we're giving them because we're not giving, especially McAvoy, typically like a really solid first line guy to play with. Like I know you mentioned Zadorov, and maybe that's the key to have them play together. But full circle here, stay with me, is Lorai. He's in a position where if he does attempt to kind of play his style and take it in or hold it a little bit longer, and then he loses
It's a
it, which
turnover.
happens. Yeah, it happens fairly often. Um, we're screwed, and there's been so many fast
Yeah.
breaks against us because of that, where we're not really putting even him, who I'm not his biggest fan necessarily, but we're not really putting him in a position where he can play his game and learn his game and grow at the NHL level without hurting the team because he's trying. And I know when Pasta was younger, a lot of people would, especially Josh, would be on him for his turnovers. And I get that.
Still,
I know. And that
that
is
no
a
look
real thing.
backhand across.
It is a real thing.
Yeah.
I get it.
Somebody
But
get it.
he's third in the league with all his injuries he's had, all his injuries, the handful of injuries he's had in this calendar year of 2025. He's third in the NHL in scoring, right? And a big part of that, he's one of the elite play scorers, right? I was gonna say playmaker, not playmaker, but like a play starter, I guess, and finisher in the league. And a big part of that is being free enough on the ice to make those plays. Because if he has a turnover, well, if he made that play, everyone would be going crazy online about it the next day. But he's going to lose a handful of
Sure.
those to make a few of those. And I think that's the same thing with McAvoy, who's not put in a position where he can have the same freedom that Pasta does. Yeah, he's defense, so it's different. But again, same with Lorai, who maybe he does have more upside than we see, but he's afraid to take those chances because he is getting benched in some situations because of turnovers, where it's like, okay, but that's part of his game. That's how he's learning because that's his play style, right? So I think there's a lot that goes into it where I can't say I 100% agree on the McAvoy take, but I do get where you're coming from, and I think you are onto something there. But I think it's a big part of
You're saying he's a high risk, high reward kind of player
yeah, it's
like
a high
Pasta.
risk, high reward, but also he's forced to play a way that's not always his style because of the guys that we tie him in with.
Yeah, sure. And I'm not trying to just crap on McAvoy. I think he's definitely
Yeah.
definitely a good hockey player. Um, he can just be frustrating at times because I feel like I
Yeah.
see this pressure that isn't necessarily warranted. And it might be because he's been, the contract and everybody looks to him and he hears, oh, is he the captain, et cetera, et cetera. So you might feel like you've got to just throw the team on your back when it gets,
Yeah.
and I get that. And that's not, I don't know if that's super healthy, you know, especially because he's got some injuries under his belt too. So it's like,
Yep.
careful. We don't
Big injuries.
but
Yeah.
yeah, he's had concussions and
I mean, even in the
so
what is it? Not the Frozen Four. What they call it instead of
last
the All
year, I
Star?
don't even
Yeah.
remember.
So,
Yeah, was
anyways,
the
I mean
Four
that was
Nations or something?
Four Nations. Yep. So I mean, you got that
Yeah,
injury there, but
that was his shoulder. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's really big too for a defenseman, right? So there's just a lot of things going on. I don't know. One thing I do want to touch on that you just mentioned a little bit though is the captaincy. So running three A's on the ice, right? I mean, we've had McAvoy throughout all his development. Same for Pasta. If both of them are not captains, if one of them hasn't made captain yet, does that say more for just where we are as a roster, or does that say a lot for them? Maybe they're both behind the scenes, these really good leaders, right? Who they don't want to just split them up. But I know a lot of hate comes on Pasta because he's so easygoing and not always that serious. But look at Ovi, right? He's not the typical captain. He's super goofy and does funny things and jokes with the guys. He's not always the first guy to speak up. Like that's what he's known for. He's not always gonna be the first guy to speak up, even though he has no problem doing that. Um, but anyways, my point being, the flip side of that is Pasta gets a lot of hate for that same kind of style. So is the issue that he's just not the typical captain type? Is that the same answer for McAvoy? Or are they just not those leaders that we need right now? Is it someone like Zadorov who needs to be captain? I don't know.
Um, I don't. I mean, we can only speculate, right? Because
Yeah.
we're not in the locker room. We're not seeing the behind the scenes stuff, um, and I think, to be honest, a lot of the writers can only speculate too, because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that even if you get access to a locker room,
Yeah.
you're not seeing like the
You don't know.
off hours texts or calls or
Yeah.
you know. Um, I think, personal opinion, I think, and maybe it's some sort of bias after experiencing how many years of the Chara Bergeron
Hmm.
dynasty of captaincy, so to
Yeah.
speak. um I feel like if the captain should be more than just the star, the captain should be more than just the celebrity or the face or the whatever. I think like, especially in the midst of this retool or whatever it is, I think you need, yes, some stability and consistency, which you could get out of McAvoy and Pasta. They're here pretty long term, and they likely will be here long term. So that would make them be the easy, picks. I think it needs a level of maturity, um,
Yeah.
and selflessness that, maybe they haven't shown, or maybe it's a strategic 40 chess kind of a thing where maybe by the end of the season they'll make that decision, or in the off season, and they're just going to ride this. It's like a strategic, like, hey, we're all in this retool kind of a thing. We're changing the culture, establishing the culture, changing the direction or modifying the direction. um, this is a time for all hands on deck kind of a thing. And then that allows for people to not just sit back
Hmm.
and get complacent with, you know, leading the team and just be like looking to one person, and it allows everyone to kind of have some accountability and ownership a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah.
That's not to say that by and large teams are just like, well, it's the captain,
Hmm.
we can just worry about us and worry about playing. And
Yeah. It
obviously,
splits it up.
yeah, obviously history is replete with locker room guys that have an impact, and they're not even, you know, they're not even big players or the captain or get the A's or whatever, and they contribute to that culture. And maybe that's just the focus right now. We don't want to be, because Boston sports is real big on PR and marketing, and as
Yeah.
soon as they name one captain, it's going to be this huge marketing push and PR push, and now he's going to be in all the Dunkin' commercials, and he's going, they're going to capitalize on it
And how does
because
that
they
make
like
the
their
other guy
money.
feel too? Does that even split up the locker room because they picked one guy over the other when they've both had the A, they've both developed within the program, and it's like, okay, hey, we're not going in your direction, but we really want your leadership. We're picking this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that's a whole
Right.
another issue
And
too.
and and you raised a valid point with somebody like Zadorov, who has like really stepped in as a leader,
Yeah,
and not been afraid. And it's like, well, maybe you just ride with like it's almost like an unofficial or informal joint captaincy by having
mm,
it like I think they've referred to it actually as like by oh what's the term? Where they just like it's leadership by the
committee.
group kind of a thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. Committee. I was thinking Congress. I was like, but yeah, leadership by committee kind of a thing
Yeah,
where, that allows for the younger guys to be comfortable and not feel any sort of outside added pressure, stress in a, challenging time of retooling and
sure.
everything. So I think they're probably smart not to rush into that just for the sake of doing it. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily benefit the team right now.
it's also a
So,
huge
and who knows? What if
commitment,
they tank?
right?
If they tank, they might trade one of those two anyway.
Yeah, because well,
If
that's
they'll
what it
trade,
is. It's
if
a
they'll let
huge
Marchand
commitment.
walk, maybe. What's
Don't
that?
even bring that. So don't even bring that up. But it's a huge commitment because if they named a captain going into this season, right, not knowing what was going to
Yeah,
happen, we had a horrible year. It's like, okay, is that who our leader is going to be, right? So knowing it's going to
right.
be a retooling year, there's going to be kind of semi-rotating doors for these lines. Yeah, it probably does make sense at least for this season to have three A's. Moving forward, I
Well,
would like for
to
someone to be it, but
yeah, for sure. I think to be honest, that's actually a perfect example with Marchand because I feel like after Bergeron left, not only were there these big boots or shoes to fill, um, there were times where he felt like he had to carry the team, and
mhm,
and and you look at him now, I think not being a captain anymore and not being looked at as like you're our guy, like if Pasta's having an off night or something and we're behind, it's like, come on, Marchand, like our hope's in
yeah,
you. And look at how well he's been performing. So I think that's just like an added level of where we don't know where we're going to end up or how we're going to perform. Adding that, it might be a little bit um, less stress and just like let it ride with this by committee kind of situation. I think that's smart
yeah,
for this season, and
agreed
then we can
for
see
this
how things
season.
go in the off season.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think long term, obviously, they need somebody, but I'm in no rush to
No, not
complain
not
about
this
whoever they
season. Just
choose.
we're in a good spot, just doing it how we're doing it,
Yeah.
and we've seen leaders
Last
step up
last thing.
because of it.
Right. Last thing, Swayman. What do you think? You think that was just a fluke?
Yeah, I don't put that on Swayman. I think was it his best game? No. Did we have a good product in front of him? Absolutely no. Um, so I think it's a fluke. I think we are fine with him. I think he is fine. I think maybe we have to worry about that being more of a mental thing for him moving forward because I'm sure he gets frustrated, right? Yeah, he just had a really hot month. Um, but we're 15 and 13 and he's playing phenomenal, leading multiple categories in the league. Statistically, he's one of the best goalies in the league this season. And we're 15 and 13. And then multiple blowout losses even with him playing well. If I was him, I'd be getting really frustrated, and it's not going to end like this week. I mean, we really have to figure out our decor before anything else. So I would say, long story long, fluke, not on
Yeah.
him. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what do you think the quick solution is for defense then with McAvoy out for an unknown amount of time and
My
Callahan and Yokoharu and
yeah,
Harris and all these other players getting injured? Do you think
I
they go
think
out
that
and try and find somebody quick?
maybe, and I think that would be good But I mean, without the numbers in front of me, I think we're looking at just over $1 million in cap space right now. So it's like, okay, who do we move that's actually going to get someone back that fits cap wise? I don't know. That's really hard. And for that to even happen, we would have to move, I mean, someone with a cap hit. And who would that be? Is it going to be someone who we can afford to move just to bolster the defense, but we're already fairly thin on, experienced forwards right now who are, I guess, getting a lot of minutes. So it kind of worries me. I think my goal, if I was a coach right now or the GM, what I would say is, hey, this is going to be a tough wave, but just ride it out. We're on the 10th man up right now, which is not going to happen all season. So where we are right now is not where we actually are. Ride this out. When we're healthy, we'll reevaluate. But right now is not time to jump ship. That would be my thoughts.
Yeah, no, not jump ship. I was just thinking if like they could pick somebody up who is available for cheap. Like, for example, and I'm not saying he's a savior or whatever, but just for example, like Jared Tenorti just became available.
Hmm.
And he played with us before, 3-4 years ago. He's a big body, so he could potentially eat up some minutes. He's like Zadorov, he's like 6'6". So that could be like more of a defensive player that, gives.
Does he move the needle though? I mean, do you want someone like that,
No,
or do
but
you want
it's
someone
like, do
who's
we keep
younger and get
calling
them some
people up?
minutes? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to move the needle, but I don't expect anybody we call up to move the needle either.
No,
And
no.
and we've got too many injuries from call ups already.
Yeah.
So, just
I mean,
like,
and then you're using their options too. So pretty soon, these
right.
guys, if we keep doing this, then we have to deal with the whole waiver issue. So yeah, the problem grows.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. But
We will
anyway,
see.
yeah, I guess we got a game tonight, and then so hopefully they can bounce back after some substandard goaltending, and
Yeah,
hopefully Geeky just keeps carrying.
he's hot,
Nick
man.
Geeky over here.
He is hot, dude. So 20 goals. Okay, I think he's like 8 assists, if I'm remembering that correct. So that right there is a bit of a red flag to me because okay, he's playing with Pasta, right? Who's getting all these
Mm.
shots on net, or setting him up because he draws more attention. Whereas Geeky is more set up on the power play and kind of drive the net, get those rebounds, sometimes get those garbage goals, even though he has sniped quite a bit. So he's hot, but we need Pasta back ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, Pasta's got 18 assists and 11
Yeah,
goals. So it's like, I think what you said is exactly what it is that people are looking for Pasta to shoot because for his entire career, he's been a sniper, a
high
shooter,
volume.
and yeah. And so it's like a little misdirection to fake a shot or, shoot pass. And Geeky's just been,
Yeah,
I don't know if it's necessarily he's like a sniper. I think he's just gotten a lot of luck. He's just been
yeah,
throwing the puck on net, and it's just been finding its way in.
yeah. He's shooting in the 20 percentile right now, or 20% plus right now is his shooting percentage. So that's gonna dip by maybe close to half at some point, right? So it's gonna go down, but hopefully it stays steady enough where that's not a big killer. But again, Pasta, he's one of the league leaders every single season in amount of shots on net, so that bodes well to play together. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's at almost 27% shot
Yeah,
percentage
okay,
right now. Geeky is.
27%. So even if that does realistically get cut in half, would still be pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy actually,
So.
and still a -6. Gotta love it.
Oh yeah, yeah, the Bruin
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Piss and vinegar and minus. Oh
Well, let me
Lord.
say this real quick. I know we're running a little long here, but speaking of piss and vinegar, one name I saw pop up today was Kiefer Sherwood, which I don't know how much you know about him, but he's a Canuck, right? And he's kind of that piss and vinegar guy who does not get a lot of points at all, never has really through any level that's professional for him. So that's a guy who it made my blood boil when I saw his name come up because I actually like him. I'm not like a hater of his. Like I like his play style, but that is the most Bruin name possible to pop up in a season where we do not need that. We're just adding more to what we have, right? Where I'd rather get a guy who's a little bit younger, who's already on our roster, give him that spot because Kiefer Sherwood is not going to move that needle whatsoever for us.
I don't know. You never
I
know.
do, and the answer is no.
Awesome. All righty. Anything else?
Duh, I think I'm tapped.
Yeah, it was a good one. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you feel so inclined to like or comment or share this, that'd be great. And we'll be back next week with another one.
Yeah, and let us know if there's
Until
anything
then.
you guys want to see too.
Yeah, for sure. We are just ramblers over here. So,
All right, thanks for
Awesome.
watching, guys.